wanted to mention this. This is an interesting story. The New York Post has this. This is the headline. Woke people are more likely to be unhappy, anxious, and depressed, a new study suggests. The article says psychological researchers in Finland have created an assessment to help measure an individual's commitment to principles of social justice and have made some surprising findings across the Finnish population, including a negative correlation between progressive ideals and levels of happiness. Their findings, published in the Scandinavian Journal of Psychology, suggest other Western nations may see similar patterns among their socially conscious citizens. Study author Askari Latinen, a senior researcher at Invest Research Flagship Center at the University of Turku, remarked that the woke discourse has since worked its way into Finnish discourse, so on and so forth. We don't really care about that. However, the most concerning finding was the relationship between mental health and agreement with woke ideals. Specifically, researchers found a high prevalence of anxiety and depression in people who believe the statement, quote, "If white people have on average a higher income than black people, it is because of racism." More broadly, they found that those who identified as less left-wing were most likely to report lower mental well-being. Now, so this is interesting. There's a sort of an obvious chicken or egg dilemma here, which others have pointed to. And so you have to ask yourself, is it that people become unhappy because they're woke, or is it that they become woke because they're unhappy? And that's a fascinating question that would impact our analysis of the findings. But even without having that sorted out, I think we can say a few things here, because really the answer is both. It's both the chicken and the egg. Wokeness attracts unhappy people, and it also makes people unhappy. And then it also makes unhappy people unhappier. So that's kind of that's the way the cycle works. And with that in mind, why does it do this? And there are myriad reasons. We're told there's a lot of depression and anxiety in people who agree with the statement that white people have a higher income on average because of racism. Well, why would that be the case? Well, because these ideas destroy agency. They take away your willpower, your free will, your ability to choose your own path in life. Everything is predetermined by the structures of oppression and racism, according to wokeness. So if you're successful, it's because of racism. If you're not successful, it's because of racism. And that means that for the white person, this creates a sense of guilt, a sense of hopelessness, a sense of passiveness, of shame. And for the black person, it's also passiveness, helplessness, resentment, hatred, scorn. That's what all of this creates. Feeling like you aren't in control, feeling entirely swept along by the currents. I mean, that's really the source of all anxiety at some level, I would argue. And wokeness breeds that feeling. It is that feeling. The removal of human agency is the whole point. It's the whole point of it. There's always this question of, well, how do you define wokeness? And I mean, really, wokeness is just the word we're using for leftism. It's just a new term. I'd be fine going back to talking about leftism, but if you want to come up with a definition of it, you could do worse than this. It's the effort to remove human agency. To take away human agency from all aspects of life. And then what do you get in exchange for it? So you give up your sense of agency, your sense that you are, at least to some significant degree, responsible for your own place in life. You take that away, and then what do you get in exchange? You end up depressed, passive, resentful, guilt-ridden, emasculated, all of that. So that's one thing you get. But do you get any benefit from it? Why do people fall into this, given that it makes them so unhappy? Well, as you know, Easter is just around the corner. And instead of filling your child's Easter baskets with candy, consider Lux Blocks. My kids love all the different options Lux Blocks offers. They have spaceships, American flags, dinosaur cars, and anything else your kids can dream up to create. And you can also just create fun little stretchy things like this. In fact, I have, and this is really true, I'm not just saying this for the commercial, but I've spent hours playing with these toys with my kids, and I quite enjoy them as well. And oftentimes, especially my 4-year-old will ask me to create something very elaborate, and I'll spend 45 minutes making it, and I'll hand it to her, and she'll say, cool, and then she'll immediately tear it apart. which is heartbreaking every single time. But it's not just their innovative designs, but the story of their creators, Heather and Mike, that's so important. They've invested their savings into this venture, and their vision for a better future, LuxBlock, is made right here in America. They wanted to create something that positively empowered kids to think, create, and dream big. So whether you're looking for a gift for a child who loves to build or just a unique addition to your family game night, LuxBlocks is a perfect choice. Check them out at luxblocks.com and use promo code MATT25 for 25% off. That's luxblocks.com. Use promo code MATT25 for 25% off. Well, I think you do get, and I wouldn't really call this a benefit, but for the people that make this deal, they see it as a benefit. You get an excuse. You know, that's what you get. You get an excuse. You also get an unearned sense of virtue. You get to have the feeling that you're a good person without doing anything at all to earn that feeling. And that's it. That's what you get. But the main thing is you get an excuse. That's what people are really after. That's all the victimology and everything. That's what it's really about. On the individual level, the reason why people find it attractive is, yes, it makes them depressed, anxious, everything else. Yes, it removes purpose and meaning from life. It makes life basically pointless, but it also it gives you an excuse. And so wherever you are in life, it's not your fault. You can just find your victim group that you belong to, because anyone can find one. You know, if you're white, you don't get to be in the black victim group, but you can find another victim group to fall into. LGBT is always there, the ever-expanding alphabet. You can find a place somewhere in there. And then it gives you an excuse. Wherever you are in life, whatever your faults are, whatever your shortcomings, whatever aspects of your life that you're dealing with that you don't like, it's not your fault. You know, nothing is your fault. And now, the way that I'm wired, and I think any healthy person is wired, is I'd rather go the other way. Like I'd rather err on the opposite extreme. I'd rather take blame for things that like aren't even my fault. I would rather have, I would rather go the other way in seeing that things are under my control when they really aren't. I'd rather, if I have to err on one side or the other, I'd rather be on that side. Because the idea of having no agency, of not being in control of my life at all, is deeply unappealing to me. So if I'm in a bad spot in life, or I'm dealing with something, and someone comes along and says, "Well, that's all your fault," I would rather think it's all entirely my fault, even if there are aspects of it that really aren't. Even if there are aspects of it that are out of my control, I'd rather accept that. And realize that I have agency over my life. I'd rather accept that and retain a sense of agency than take the excuse and say, "Oh, it's not my fault at all," and lose that sense of agency. But I think for people who fall into the woke cult, they just getting that excuse is incredibly appealing to them, and they'll give up everything just to have the excuse. And there's more to wokeness, of course. It also destroys family bonds. It breeds resentment, not just between races, but even worse, between families, between generations. Possibly worst of all, it makes you, sort of unstuck in time, to borrow a phrase from some book. I don't remember which. I think Slaughterhouse-Five, Unstuck in Time. It unmoors you. It removes all connection to your past, to your family, to your ancestors, to your culture, particularly if you're white. It takes all that away, and that creates more despair, more depression, more anxiety. And the ultimate goal is to take away meaning for your life. A woke life is a life without meaning. It's not even that. I think we get this wrong sometimes, because we would say that people who are woke, leftist, they kind of relativist, and they believe that you can make your own meaning for your own life. Meaning is something that you create for yourself. I don't even think that's the case. That's kind of an existentialist approach, is that meaning is what you make. You make your own meaning. But on the left, that's not really what they believe. The woke religion rejects meaning altogether. There is no meaning. There is no purpose. There's just pure existence for its own sake. And it's an existence defined by oppression and self-victimization. And so, does it make people unhappy? Yes. And does it attract unhappy people who are looking for excuses? Unhappy, passive, emasculated people who are looking for excuses? Yes, it does. It does both of those things. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.